Okay guys, so this week, what I did last week on this little still life is I went in and I punched up the really bright colors initially, and then I actually dulled them down by putting some greens in. Remember, green and red, when you mix them, they're complements, one will dull the other down. So what I'm going to do this week is I'm actually going to go back in and I'm going to punch this really up by putting bright colors on top of dull colors. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm actually going to cut down the size of my apples a little bit and work on my tablecloth. I got a nice clean brush, big brush, and I'm basically going to carve into this, and I actually want to cut it down. And I could actually just paint over this because it's completely dry now. And I'm just carving the apples down to make them a little bit smaller. Okay. And again, on this one, I'm going to carve it back a little bit. I'm going to make it a little bit smaller. And again, I could do that because I'm putting a nice opaque white paint over, what I did last week.
Is that straight white?
It's white mixed with a little cadmium yellow medium. And again, I'll knock down the edges shortly. I'm just trying to cut the size of these apples down and make it a little closer to the other still life in terms of the apple size. I didn't have to cut them down, but I just decided that just as a lesson that you could put an opaque paint over even a red once it's dry.
How do you know which paints are opaque and which aren't?
They say on the tube usually, but you can just tell. I mean, this stuff is opaque. All whites are opaque. Most of the yellows and the cadmiums are opaque. A lot of the earth tones are opaque or semi-opaque. Ultramarine blue and the phthalos are definitely transparent. Alizarin crimson, which we haven't used very much of, is also transparent.
It says on the back of the tube. Okay. A lot of mine are transparent or translucent.
Well, you're using acrylics, so it's going to be a little different with acrylics, but your white is definitely opaque. And your mediums, some of your mediums are opaque.
What's the difference between transparent and translucent?
Opaque, and
those are earth tones, like I said. The earth tones.
Cadmium red.
Yeah, there you go. Those are all opaque.
What's the difference between transparent and translucent?
Everything else here is translucent or transparent.
Translucent light goes through.
Yeah, you're not going to see translucent on the back of the paint. You're going to see transparent.
Translucent on the back of my ultramarine blue.
Translucent?
Yep.
Well, that means you can actually see through it. You can put it down on a layer, so it's not only transparent, but that means the paint particles are suspended in the medium, that the binder for the paint, so you can actually see through it. And when we do glazing, that's what we're doing. We're actually putting on layers and layers of thin paint, so you can actually look through the different layers. All right, so this was a clean brush, big brush. I'm going to go in with another completely clean brush, dip it in my medium, my Neo Mega Glip. I'm actually going into I mixed some phthalo yellow-green, and I'm actually going to punch up these greens. I really dulled them down last week. I'm going to go in and really punch them up this week. And I'm actually going to use them to actually define some of the edge of my apple. And you see, the green is going to be very bright. And again, I could sort of break it and scumble it. I could actually punch up areas that I want greener, and I could sort of drag the paint over with scumbling to basically break it and sort of get some of the shape of the apple in. And again, I have that red underpainting, and I can even let some of that show through. Okay? So you can actually see by just putting this green on, which is very bright. And again, I can actually, just glaze a little bit in. I'm going to reestablish the core of the apple here and here. Okay.
Seems like you can mix the oils on the
Canvas?
Canvas.
That's what I'm doing. I'm actually mixing. I did clean my brush. I took some lemon yellow. I'm actually going to put a little bit of lemon yellow in, and then I'm going to basically spread it around a little bit.
Because that doesn't seem to work as well on the acrylic.
Well, you got your drying times entirely different, and again, it's a different. The binder is different, so acrylic goes on much more watery than most of the oils. These are thick, opaque paints that I'm putting on now. Okay, I'm going to establish these a little bit more. Okay. And now I'm gonna blend this out just a bit, again, just to get some form. Okay. Okay, I'm gonna go in the next painting session, I'm gonna go back and reestablish some of the darks on this. Okay? Now, I could take another brush, and I can go back and reestablish some of my reds if I want. So I'm gonna go into cadmium red light, because I really want to punch up the reds in certain areas, like right about here, right here, near the top here. I'm just punching some of these up. And again, I could actually dull down the greens a little bit more if I think they're too bright. Okay, so you can see now that I'm putting a bright, undiluted color on top of dull color, how much it actually makes this bright color even appear brighter. So that was sort of my goal last week, to get everything in a sort of a dull stage so I could really punch it up this week once everything had dried out. Okay, and now I'm actually going to not clean my brush, but I'm just going to go take a little alizarin, basically some dioxine purple, and I'm making something that's close to an alizarin crimson. I'm taking a little red, and this is to go in and establish some of the dark side of the apple again. I'm going to start to establish this dark side.
I'm sorry, what colors did you just mix again?
I just mixed any red and dioxine purple. I mixed alizarin. Basically, it's an alizarin. If you've got alizarin crimson, you can use that, but I just had some dioxine purple on my palette, so I mixed that with some Grumbacher red or cadmium red light. And again, I'm actually going to redefine this like a cast shadow onto this apple. I'm going to redefine that. A little bit of a cast shadow right here. I'm going to redefine that. There's a little bit back here. I'm going to redefine that. And this is again, I'm going to sort of mix some of this dioxine in here to redefine a cast shadow onto this. And again, I'm going to blend this in a little bit. Okay, got it, Nick.